Konnichiwa, hello, and welcome to Mobility Resort Motegi in Japan. Tonight we're going to be heading underneath that oval, which is what you see on the top there, underneath the Alpine Bridge. And the reason for that is because we're on the short course road course layout, which is, I've got to say, just a touch disappointing here, David Haynes, because V8 supercars on the Motegi Oval. What could go wrong?
I actually do love that Motegi Oval, you know, because you've got one slightly tighter corner than at the other end, and it gives you lots to work with, but the road course is going to give us plenty to work with here as well on the East configuration. Formerly Twin Ring Motegi, now Mobility Resort Motegi. I think they got earthquaked a little bit and reconfigured.
Yeah, unfortunately the oval no longer in operation, which is sad. Well, we'll have to give up. But alas, it's up in the mountains. You can see all of the little peaks in and around the circuit. The red part of the track is the section we're not using here tonight. MotoGP has been in operation here over the years as well. Opened in August 1997. So this one is one of those circuits that's opened in my lifetime. 3.4 kilometers in length, only the 11 turns here tonight. It is a very, very short technical track. Overtaking is going to come at a premium. There are very few opportunities. Oh, and you can pick up a slowdown through the chicane in the middle of the lap as well. There's a really weird off track at turn 3, and I actually got the opportunity to race alongside some of these guys on a Tuesday night, so I can tell you firsthand, it is difficult and it gets the heart racing. The Dino Dyno is going to be in full effect tonight, should we have it available to us, because this is one of those tracks that really works you out.
Yeah, going to be exciting, no doubt. And it's East configuration, it's a little bit more non-stop. You cut out some of the longer straights that are in the infield of the oval otherwise, and you've got a lot more of the road course section on the exterior of the oval, although not a whole lot. It's just 3.4 kilometers, and this is what the drivers think about it.
Yeah, tyre wear right up there. There is a significant amount of tyre fall off as it runs. And there's not really all that much ability to do any fuel saving, which means that there's not going to be a lot of options in terms of the race strategy. Overtaking difficulty, they're saying it's overtaking options, are quite low. That makes it a lot more sense. Track difficulty quite high. Yep, I totally agree with that. Chance of safety car, and again, I agree with this as well. Quite high, and confidence level reasonably high as well. So she's a tough little one, and I can tell you the rear end of this car wants to flick around, particularly out of turn 10 and turn 6 and turn 9. Those are the three ones that you really got to be careful. Surprisingly, the turn 11 hairpin, the car is actually quite stable coming out of there, but yeah, it's the slower corners on the track. It's going to make a really, really interesting one, including the downhill braking zone on the run down to turn number 1, Dave. Really difficult. Car just wants to run on.
Yep. That's always one I think about around here, because you approach it at plenty of speed. It's pretty tight. You're dropping downhill, and it also has this sort of visual appearance that's a little impressive, because you're about to turn underneath the banking of the oval. So the area around the racetrack also tightens up a little bit through there, and you sort of bring your shoulders in a little bit, and you get a little tense heading into that part of the racetrack.
And hopefully, when we finally do get some rain. For not this generation of car, but the Gen 3. Unique opportunity, because how many opportunities in iRacing are there where you actually dip underneath the bridge? Suzuka's got one, Oran Park has got another, and I think that's actually about it in terms of basically places that don't have rain within circuits. Well, that's what it looks like in terms of what the driver's thoughts about this track are, but on with the next slides without information tonight. So we'll jump through and have a quick look at our championship standings, because we're starting to get towards the back end of the season, and that means we're running out of time for people to gain and lose points. And as usual, Scott Gamble is on top of the world. Mr. Consistent, though, of late, Ken Ladder's starting to come back to form and really find his mojo once again. Sits only 3 points ahead of Sean McNamara, up a spot. You can see Michael Whiting's dropped 6 spots to slide all the way to 10. Paul Warwick as well slid 8 spots after not being in attendance last week, and Dan Hall's managed to grab 6 spots. But you can just see championship standings basically from 5th place down to 10th place. There is only 34 points covering those spots, and there's not all that much in between them there, Dave. So championship, at least in that mid pack, is exceptionally tight.
Yeah, we've had lots of great racing, and then you pick up some drivers' names in the middle there, and you can think of times that Matt Vanderkran and Chris Miller had some really, really solid results, and then other times maybe struggled in qualifying, had to work through the field in the racing. And so certainly in the mid-pack, there's a lot of chance for some drivers to move around some.
Don't forget to have a look at this is what the points look like. So it's basically 4 points from first to second, 3 points from second to third, and then 2 points for each spot thereafter. Bonus points for pole position and fastest lap. Scott Gamble has been picking up the bank of not only race wins, but also pole position and fastest laps. 0 incident points will get you an additional spot, effectively, in terms of points. Lead any lap, worth a bonus of +1. Most laps, +1, another Scott Gamble dominated category. And joining the Zoom call, there's been a bunch of drivers that continue to pick themselves up 10 free bonus points, or effectively 5 spots across the championship when they attend the Zoom feed for every week of the season. In terms of race strategy now, we'll have a sweep across and look at what our fuel looks like. Only 150 kilometers here tonight. Short race. I'm pretty sure the drivers would be very, very glad it's only a short one. Must hit 34 laps to score points here tonight. 50 litres to start the take. You've got a hole of 61, and the fuel burn in and around that 2.81 to 2.85. 85 is really, really high. It's going to take a lot to burn 2.85 on the lap, but you can get it down as low as 2.6 on a short lap, of course. 68 to 79 litres, somewhere in that realm. Must pit after the start of lap 2. And you can make it home anywhere from lap 3. Most drivers will be aiming for about lap 7 to get their second pit stop to come home. So which means I get the feeling we're getting a few people dive out of the queue quite early here tonight, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, look at that red line. If you stop as early as possible, you're clearing your 2 stops by quite early in the race, by lap 4. And I was hearing some of the drivers think that the chance of the safety car was pretty reasonable around here, and that always gives us some interesting strategy. But with just a 3.4 kilometer lap, if you did that red option, you would absolutely fall off the lead lap and then maybe not be able to pick up much benefit of a safety car or anything. So there is some variability to the strategy, and we could get kind of like a repeat of Long Beach if there's a safety car somewhere in that middle window where some drivers have made their first stop, but not every driver has made their first stop.
I think the big learning point that we got from Long Beach is make your first stop early, but make your second stop late, is sort of the what we've learned coming out of everything. So I think if I'm anywhere in the settings, I'm probably coming in about anywhere around laps 7 to 10, somewhere around there is about as late as I want to run. 45 laps the duration here tonight as well, worth noting. So about that 22, lap marker is going to be our halfway point. Yeah, fuel's going to carry us as long as about lap 19, potentially, from that first tank. And there is some different fuel burns in and amongst those things. About 36 litres is the recommended. Split it in half for your fuel for both your stops here tonight. So keep our eyes on that one. Looking at about a 16-second stop in the bay. Won't be wanting to do anything more than probably about 20 seconds worth of fuel on either stop. And the reason for that is if you go any longer than that, you will be static waiting for your tyres to be bolted on. And nobody will want that with the amount of tyre weather we're expecting here tonight.
Yeah, and on this east configuration, you're using what you'd almost consider to be the support pits around here. It's not the main Grand Prix pits, so there is only 23 stalls. So almost everyone, basically everyone, is sharing a stall in a pretty tight pit lane here as well. And that, if we get a flood of drivers all pitting together, could get quite challenging.
Now, let's have a quick look at last week's driver of the day. Now, I wasn't here for this one, Dave, but I have heard that Sean McNamara put on a masterclass. So I'm going to have to ask you for some more details on what happened last week.
Well, it was an absolutely ripping battle the whole way through. Great undercut from Sean McNamara to come out ahead of Scott Gamble in that final stint, and the two of them, they raced each other damn hard, so it was really, really exciting to see up front. I think that gave Sean McNamara the Chubby Buns Burgers driver of the day. Even though that says started second, finished second, it was, of course, far more interesting than that as he challenged for the race win.
It's good to hear from Sean McNamara as well. And very, very excitingly, we've got a new prospect coming our way next season that'll shake up the top half of the grid. Jordan Ross is now eligible to be a V8 Veterans driver. Has just turned 40. So we're looking forward to having another car right up at the pointy end and really starting to harass these guys. And I tell you this, when you talk to all the V8 supercar drivers across all the leagues, where do they all look forward to racing the most? None of them can wait to turn 40, which is a really weird thing to say.
Oh, it's such an amazing category then if it makes people look forward to 40.
Yeah, I've got to wait another 8 years, Dave, so I'm getting excited. I don't really race a supercar much, but I do want to get out there and get amongst vets. Well, we're going to have a look quickly at the Zoom wall because we are already into the warm-up. We have got about 3 minutes before we'll jump into our 3-minute long gridding phase here tonight. And you can see Scott Gamble's already having a little bit of a chat. You can see attitude of the car, little bits and pieces that he'd like to adjust. Scott McCune's returned to the Zoom wall. That's the last we'll mention him for his benefit. And the dyno is apparently, I would have to say that Dino's probably away from his computer right now, given that that's how low it is. Travis Hunt and Damien Cairns is giving us the regular shuckers. Kerbo is on the right-hand side of the middle. We've actually got a few extra drivers in here tonight, which is good to see. Jeff Thomas is nice and relaxed. Tim Nichols chilling himself out. Jason Fewens also away from keyboard at the moment. No, he's actually on the phone.
I think he's ordering some pizza.
Somebody chatting in the background as well. Looks like Optus Tech Support's there to help him out. Sharpie, Ken Latta, and Christian Smart rounding out the Zoom wall. Another driver also up and away. Right, gridding phase. Time to have a chat about the drivers and where they've all qualified tonight, because this is a track where qualifying is important. And once again, Scott Gamble takes another pole position. This time, 17 thousandths of a second was all that separated our front two drivers, the two teammates on the front row. Scott Gamble and Sean McNamara going to be off the front two spots. We'll see if they can get the getaway that they're looking for. Matt Vanderkraan and Ken Latta are going to round out row number 2. Vanderkraan's got some practice in earlier on in the week. He's feeling very hot to trot. And as he won a couple of league races earlier on in the week, Travis Hunt and Michael Whiting off of 5th and 6th. More drivers have been putting in a ton of homework to try and move their way up the grid. This will be a really good opportunity, and Whiting will be looking to score some more points after sliding down the field last week. Craig Friend returned to form for him inside of the top 10, 4/10 off of that pole position. Damien Cairns continues to put away a bank of points as well. Matty Parker manages to make his way inside of the top 10 and gets in there ahead of Blake Delaney, only about 13 thousandths of a second to separate the back end of the 10. Move outside the 10 now to 11th and 12th. Scott McCune, one of his better qualifying performances on the season, will be lining up alongside of Tim Nichol. I hope these two guys stared each other down on the Zoom call for who's going to get down into turn 1 first. 13th and 14th. And Hall, good to see him in and around. He's been on trips yet again this season. And Dean Flavel will certainly be seeing the dyno at work out of 14th. He's going to be right in the heart of it. 1,000th of a second between both those guys as well. Dead heat in terms of times on this row, and Stephen Varga, this will have to go down to the 4th digit that's not represented right here on this graph. We'll get the job done over Troy Stone Street, and down to the 1,000th of a second, they had a dead even time. Jamie McKnight, 17th, and Dave Kirby. McKnight's already ruining this track, not necessarily the happiest with the way that his preparations have gone, but he'll be lining up alongside his teammate Dave Kirby. Out to 19th and 20th. Is going to be Darren Crosby from Chad Lewis. Good to see Chad inside of the 20. Move it outside of the 20 now. Remember, we're still less than 0.8 of a second back here. Brad Doble from Chris Smart. Doble had some strong finishes last season. Tonight could be his night if he can stay free of the drama. So Chris Smart out of 21st, 22nd, 23rd is going to throw us back to Mark Point. Will be a little bit deeper in the field than he necessarily will. 0.008 of a second ahead of Robert Crisdale. So the time's extremely close together, particularly in this range. Back outside of there, we got a Logan Barnett, and the final driver within a second of our leaders, Greg Sharp, down in 26. The 26 drivers covered by a second. Jeff Thomas is just over that second marker ahead of Stewie Hall. Again, quite tight on this row as well. Getting close to the drivers that are now outside of the 1 minute 20s. Paul Warwick was definitely inside of that marker alongside of Lorne Mackay out of all the way back to the 30th spot. And Lorne's the first driver to not sit on 1 minute 19 in qualifying. Robbie Griffiths from Mario Reale, 31st and 32nd. Now we're getting out to 1.4 seconds behind the leaders. Jason Fewens all the way towards the back end of the grid ahead of John Gallen. Gary Buckland will be out of 35th alongside of Darren Goosey. And I believe we've got David Nash, I think, is the last car in the field out of 37th, failing to set a time. Will be coming from the rear. It should be an exciting one for him as well.
I mean, get a good look at where they actually grid up past 34th, 35th. They're on this east configuration. A few of them are almost halfway around the hairpin there with this field that we've got. And again, they're starting on 50 litres of fuel. And for reasons we've pointed out, short lap, reasonable chance of a safety car. You might want to take that first stop reasonably early into this. Tyre wear could be a factor as well. I hear people talk about Japanese pavement, and it's just a little more abrasive, slightly lower grip. And I don't know if that's facts or it's a perception thing, but some people say they feel it, so therefore it's real.
Yeah, there's a wicked balance change in this car around all the slow corners as well. You just start picking up the throttle, everything seems fine, and then all of a sudden you've spat sideways, and the car's going to be quite difficult to manage. Remember, critical lap number for your second stop can be lap 3 if you can fuel save. The last time we were here, we had one of the most exciting battles at the tail end of the races as we watched Michael Taliancic try and hang on to a whole bunch of positions and run out of fuel coming out of the last corner. He struggled, cough spluttered, and barely got to the line to get his spot away. It was one of the most exciting races on the season and on memory, and that was a very, very long time ago. It might have been about 18 months ago we were calling that race. So such was the duration. We've been here, by the way, we were doing some numbers prior to the stream. SimSpeed's been here since season number 14 and we're on 21. So 7 seasons we've been calling this one for. Is Motegi gonna provide us with 2 blockbusters from 2 races when we get here? We are moments away from green flag at the front end of the field, and the drivers are starting to get ready for a race start. Who is going to get the launch? Who is going to get the job done on the run into turn number 1? The revs will rise. Look for the flames out the pipes. Here we go. Time for 150 kilometers from Motegi. What is Japan set to deliver? Bad start from Matt Vanderkroon on the outside of row number 2 and on the run down to turn number 1. Look at the getaway from Ken Ladder. He's already picked off one. Looking for number 2. Will McNamara yield? Is he going to send it in there? Ladder's in deep. He's got to the inside of Gamble. Had to back out at the last possible moment. Goes from 4th to 2nd. Great start, great launch. Now watch the field file in. This is really tight, really technical, and there are some in the background still 3 wide. There's someone off at turn 1 as well.
There's plenty of dramas. In fact, a decent pile up into turn 2 back there as well from about 30th on back. Look at them sprayed everywhere. Looks like Nash has started from the pit lane and he's already not last.
Already scooting his way through 3 cars. That was definitely Jason Fewens that was involved in that one. Robbie Griffiths, another. So from the rear end of the field, they're trying to shuffle their way through and trying to sort themselves out. Logan Barnett was the other car in the 9.5 SimSports outfit, but it's going to be Gamble at the head of the field from Ken Ladder. Sean McNamara, for all the heroics last week, has already lost 1 spot, but he already might be going. A little bit of the alternate strategy. If he can save some fuel, if he can do something different, he's going to force a little bit of gamesmanship from the 2 cars ahead of him. I think that'll be the key.
So quickly, the lap flies by. Not too much dramatics inside of the top 10 other than a great start from Ken Ladder, but many of the positions further back, some decent drama indeed. Drivers who didn't get away well, Scott McCune, Troy Stonestreet, Christian Smart struggling away on that opening lap. But once you start to look beyond 30th place, that's where they really began to tangle through turn 2. I said that you tighten up a little bit as you go underneath the banking after 1, and then on that way into 2, 3 wide was a really tough prospect, and I think that's where some of it came unstuck. It's also dark in that part of the racetrack as well.
Yeah, down underneath the bridge, and then it's really tight at turn 3. Cannot understand how tight it is at turn 3. They just about fed back single file as they got through the chicane at 4 and 5. And McNamara is managing to go with them. Watch the rear end of these cars, particularly through here. The rear can get away from you. You've got to really manage the throttle just to look after the rear tyres, just a touch. And McNamara's got a little bit of pace. Closes in. A little bit deep, though, at 8. Flick back to 9. You can run a little bit wide. You can see, look at Ladder and the wheel work at the front of that car. He had a lot of wheel cranked into this one. Then you've got to balance the car down here and try and pick up the throttle nice and easily. Look at McNamara, gets a touch oversteer on the way out. So it is a hectic lap day, and that means that the old ticker, she gets a workout.
Yeah, absolutely does. About to get the first flying lap of the race. Gamble goes over the line, and it's 1:19. So again, we get through the laps really quickly around here. It's just a 3.4 kilometer layout. Traffic later in the race could absolutely be a factor, and a lot of the mid to tail pack of the drivers are going to be thinking about their strategy, not just how they can make some passes, but how they can maybe stay on the lead lap as well for as long as they can.
Someone's dived to the lane already, so down at the tail end of the field, I know that much. There's another car that's just entered the pit lane. Here comes McNamara, covers to the inside, though, is Ken Latta. He's going to force him to try and go the long way around. Does he force the crisscross? He tries to rotate the car back underneath him, but he just cannot get the traction out the other side. Have a look at Michael Whiting, who's up a couple of spots as well. Already starting to connect himself to the rear bumper of these guys up ahead. Damien Cairns has picked up a couple of spots. Hunt's lost 2 on the opening lap. I think that just might have been out of sequence. The odd number grid positions were on the outside of the run down to turn number 1. And you saw Latta was just able to cut his way through from the inside of the track and got that good start as well.
Flash of the headlights coming in around there as well, and at night certainly a little bit more noticeable. Heading into that final hairpin of the lap, it's a big stop, and definitely one of the places you can think about being optimistic and opportunistic about a little bit of a dive.
Drivers up the most spots at the moment. Darren Goosey's already up +9, so he's looking to really cut his way through. You've got to keep a little bit of an eye in the background on that pit lane strategy as well. Warwick's managed to grab a couple. Chrisdale, Buckland and Stewie Hall all plus more than 5. I tell you what, Dean Flavel's fallen 22 spots in that opening couple laps. So either Dean Flavel was the driver who took a stop in lap number 2. So he was looking to get out of the queue nice and early.
Now that cut through on the east layout, it sends you onto this straight with more speed, and it's just a deceptively tight corner here as well. It kind of visually looks like it's going to be a 90-degree right-hander, but it's tighter than that and keeps going and then feeds you underneath the oval banking as well. So that's becoming a really good overtaking opportunity down at turn 6 on this layout, where you wouldn't normally think of it so much on the bigger layout, but they're getting fed down there at more speed. It's a bigger braking zone in these cars. We've seen a couple of moves happen there, like that battle between Sean McNamara and Ken Latta that we saw just a lap or so ago as well. That it's challenging but fast down that straight.
Yeah, you can just see looking around at all the cars as well. They're all sort of banked up, but nobody can really pull out. Nobody's got the pace. Nobody's got the opportunity. Warwick's up 8 spots at the moment, not quite able to connect to the back end of Troy Stone Street. And Stone Street's not just able to connect to the back of the cars ahead of him. Brad Doble's harassing the rear of Mark Poynton. Poynton's got himself inside the 20, because remember he started just outside. So he'll be happy with the way that his race start's gone.
And look at Paul Warwick here getting through the gears as well. So we've got a relatively short gear set back for around here. So they're very, very sharp off the corners, but you're hitting a peak speed. Like you're getting up to the top of 6th gear here, and you're almost capping out at sort of 245 or so. So you've got a lot of kick off these corners, but it is going to chew through your tyres if you're not careful.
Yeah, a lot of wheel spin is able to get out of it, and they do actually hit the chip, so they're hitting the limiter at the end of the front straightaway with 1 car a tow. So setting up the run, looking a little bit deep, across over. So Warwick, although he's cut his way through the field, managed to find a few spots. He does have damage to the rear end of that car, now finds himself checked up a little bit. It's about being accurate, it's about being consistent. And again, there's no break around here. You really just got the front straight, and it's not even all that long. Lap times all around 1 minute 20 for the bulk of the field. Greg Sharp now comes to the lane, so he's going to jump out of the queue. We're already on lap number 6, so anytime from about now, I was expecting the bulk of drivers to start thinking about their first pit stop.
It's not quite as equipped as a pit lane. It's a little bit tighter, a little bit shorter. It's not a particularly quick, high-speed pit lane either. So pit lane speed limit is 64 kilometers an hour through there. I've seen. There's probably some blokes racing from their garden shed. That's a nicer looking shed than the pit lane here.
Like you said, support category pit lane. It's not equipped to be a primary pit lane. So.
No, it's not a Titan.
But how good's the entry to the pit lane as well? And we'll get an opportunity to show you that at some point throughout proceedings. We've got the perfect little shot set up. I cannot wait to show off. I think it's probably worthwhile keeping an eye on who's going to dive to the lane. None out of the top 10 by the look of things. Just waiting to see.
And after all of that sort of lap one shenaniganry, we're finally getting a little bit of race control action on it, including a penalty for Logan Barnett. Now, I think he'd qualified a lot lower than what you might normally expect out of him, and I think he might have been a little too aggressive on the first lap trying to get through the field. So he's one of the first penalties we're going to see.
Just see that was Ken Latta trying to come his way through. Whiting's quick at the moment. He's really ranged up on the back of these guys. I do wonder whether or not Sean might be just trying to conserve and go, all right, I can't really get this job done, so I'm going to get it done with strategy.
I think Whiting's the second fastest car at the moment, so the only driver with a personal best lap quicker is Scott Gamble, who's got that fastest lap of the race at the moment. So in the battle between Latta and McNamara here, Whiting's just chipping away a little bit at them, and it gives him some opportunities here because he can either get in here and amongst this fight, or it's an opportunity for him to save his tyres a little bit, save his fuel a little bit. McNamara has a front lock up there, and at night it's not as noticeable. I didn't see the smoke, but I could see that his inside front tyre locked up and he pushed wide.
Yep, the rotation stopped, and now he's sort of struggling. I wonder whether McNamara might just try and force their hands and just jump to the lane. So, again, I just get the feeling it's going to be single file. I can see about 4 cars now that have pit by the look of things. One of them will be Logan Barnett to serve that drive-through penalty, though, so... And I'm pretty sure he served that one straight away. He jumped into the pits as soon as that was issued. Was the flip-flop through 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, solid. You see a couple of different lines through there, and it's about trying to get to throttle onto the next straight, and Latta did it pretty well this time. McNamara was just a tiny bit out of sorts and maybe beginning to struggle with those tyres a little bit, while Michael Whiting's still applying the pressure on him. Van der Kran's back in 5th, so he lost a couple of spots on that opening lap there, as you can see from the graphic timing column left-hand side of the screen. Down 2 spots off the race start. I think he's just starting to hit a little bit of his element. A couple of cars in behind him. Damien Cairns making some ground, Blake Delaney making some ground. I think as the leaders, you're looking for a couple more drivers in the mid-pack to pit, because right now, you're going to be in a world of traffic if you pit and then the rest of them don't immediately follow.
So what we're saying, about 36 litres gives us 19 seconds and 19 seconds across out. Which stops at, no, sorry, it was 16 to 16. So what, one of that 45 litres. And confirm that you're going to pop out in behind the traffic here. 9 laps in, no safety car at the moment, but I can tell you that from here on out, the tyre wear does start to get quite up there, so it's worthwhile keeping in the back of your mind. And the big one will be cars, particularly off of turn 10, which is a really, really sharp left-hander heading down the final corner. Very easy to spin the tyres up, just hardening the barrier on the left-hand side, so... I think will be the source of a safety car, if any, tonight.
Certainly looking like a racetrack where passing is requiring a little bit of effort, because there's just this little group behind Latta and McNamara. Decent little group forming behind Matt Van der Kran. There's a group with Tim Nicol at the moment that's got some of our big movers. David Kirby up 5, Robert Trisdale up 7, Mark Poynton up 5 as well. And I think at this point in the race, you're just not looking to take too much risk to make some passes. And there are a couple of places you could have a look, have a go. but it's not necessarily going to be a 100% probability. You're taking a little bit of a gamble.
Well, I'm just looking at the field and going, all right, well, where does the first driver willing to take a risk on strategy? And it's probably Travis Hunt. So JWM motorsports cars, they tend to like that. They just watch him have a big old slide as he came through the kink at 5, the left-hander. So it says to me the tyres are certainly starting to wear. Drive though, off of turn 6, so doing okay. And how good is this battle pack as well, from a 10th right through to about 24th? We're all sort of bottlenecked up together. You might be able to count 9th. Watch Travis sort of feed the wheel at it. Look how smooth and little amounts you've got to use on that steering wheel.
He's got to use the gear shifter plenty around here, like we talked about the short gears. You just pull gear, pull gear, pull gear, so you're second up to 5th through here, and then back all the way down to 2nd. 3 downshifts immediately into the next corner. So just 6 total gear shifts just in that short little straight, and then you're going to repeat again, like 4 upshifts, 4 downshifts along this straight.
Something's happened to Stewie Hall. Stewie Hall, I believe, is around at the moment on the entry to turn 10. And down the inside goes Travis Hunt. Plunges, gets it down the inside. I believe Damien Kansas just sort of lifted and said, yep, all right, that one's done. I'm not going to fight that too much.
Yeah, and then Kansas just sort of hanging out there like, come on, get on with it a little bit if you can, because this is just going to cost both of us a little bit of time if it's not happened quickly.
Ooh. So that's Christian Smart. The contact on Stuart Hall. You just see he's being held up by Warwick, and Smart senses an opportunity. Carries speed around the outside, the inside.
Are they both coming back towards the centre of the track at about the same time there?
I don't know if he was coming back towards the centre of the track, more so he just didn't... He held his line. And Smart was expecting him to go further to the right.
A couple of dented cars now. And a couple of pit gamblers as well. David Kirby and Troy Stonestreet. Well, Stonestreet's also a little dented there.
Nearly a little bit of the old got to make some contact to get an overtake done. Really, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. I tell you what, they're all right back up together. So this will trigger the first round of pit stops, and Ken Ladder's had a good run early on. McNamara's going to swing it back to the inside, just show the nose. Just force a little bit of a response. Ken Ladder. In the meantime, Gamble's disappearing up the road yet again. Shooting about 4 seconds at the moment.
Yeah, he's got a fair bit of pace on over the rest of them at the moment, especially the way that this battle's 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
Just look at Sean and I'm thinking, just get out of the queue. Because he looks faster. He does look faster than Ken at the moment. Does get the over-under, starts it off, tries to get the crisscross and get the power down. But Ladder's just off the corner a lot earlier. And that just allows him to cover it off. Does start to build the run. It's a little bit too late. Again, showing the nose, tries to force the response from Ken, and Ken's just, yep, no worries, not even going to cover.
The opportunity to stop for these guys, I think, is opening up a little bit more because you've got some other drivers from approaching the top 10 beginning to stop. So Warwick, Downhall, Brad Doble are in. Now you're looking at a bit less traffic if you look to stop slightly earlier amongst these guys.
I like the towel over the sim rig, by the way. I have to do that quite a bit. I'm a sweater.
I reckon it's almost to protect the seat. He looks like he's been painting today and hasn't had a chance to change yet.
That would make a lot more sense.
Either that or see, that's either a $10 shirt or a $500 shirt, if I understand fashion.
Might get the opportunity to ask him how much the shirt costs at the end of the race, but yes, opportunities are starting to open up, and again, all three of these guys go past the pit lane entry. They just take a look at it. You can just see from Ken, not a word spoken at the moment. He is full-blown focus mode, and there is not even a hint of looking left or right. Matt Vanderkran's tumble through the field has started to arrest itself, and he is starting to resurge back just a touch at these guys, so he could even... Well, Ken Ladder's wide at turn number 1 now. Not quite an opportunity, though. But it does show that McNamara is starting to breathe down that neck, and he's just about making contact with the rear bumper of the Mustang. Here they come. And again, Ken just has to cover, shows the nose to the inside. No, not going to cover vacant air. No reason to do so.
Gear shifts are plenty as well. I mean, just there into turn 6, 6th gear down in the 2nd. We're all the way up into 5th. Almost thinking about 6th in this part. And then you're down in the 3rd again. And almost all of the other slow corners, they're all sort of 2nd gear stuff as well. And you are really working up and down the gears here on this little layout.
Oh, here we go. Finally gets an opportunity to show McNamara. Not quite up far enough, though. We've always turned Ken Ladder, and he's not going to do that. Yep, there it is, finally. At the end of lap number 14, dives to the lane. Just about half the field is now pitted. That means that there is an opportunity for him to feed back into a hole, you hope, if you're in Sean McNamara's shoes.
Jamie McKnight, Mark Poynton, and a couple of others come in and take this opportunity as well, so we're really in the flurry of it. If that was your pit stall, you've got to be alert about it. Yeah, right on the entry there. Super tight hairpin on the entry, and then keep turning to find your crew if you're in pit stalls 2021, 22, 23.
Dropped in away as Poynton, so is McNamara. And a drive-through penalty for Christian Smart. The incident back on lap 10 that we saw was Stewie Hall. And I thought that might be coming. Travis Hunt has gotten in and done his pit stop as well, which we sort of expected. He would be one of the drivers that would dive through the lane very early on.
Has he not just been off?
He has! Oh, he's just had a huge moment, huge incident! And I think there was an issue with the internet connection. I know that his engine is blown, and I believe Dan Hall's still got an engine, but his night's going to be done. His left front is off that car.
Ladder, Whiting, Vanderkran, Damien Cairns all jump into the lane right now, but Scott Gamble still out, and this could be a Long Beach situation.
Well, Travis Hunt's just dropped out the servo as well, so that's what's caused that.
It's a 20-point turn here for Dan Hall to try to get going, and his car's not in a good way either, even though he's got the motor and he's got gears and he's got drive.
Well, he's got it back around and facing in the right direction, so we might prevent ourselves a safety car at the moment. Is anyone going to stay out with a key? Does he know that his left front's off that car? I don't think he knows. Yeah, he knows now he's not going to be able to get it back and has now requested that so...
We're going to go IndyCar rules here, and everyone gets the opportunity to come past and pit before we call safety car. Scott Gamble's in, and you imagine everyone else understands the situation as well.
Well, the big key here is you've got to dive in before they call safety car.
Which they do right now.
So, safety car has now been deployed. Who's going to be the leader that it does pick up at this point in time? Because Gamble got in and onto the lane. And they're going to let the field trundle on by. They pick up the leader. Who is going to emerge first? You would assume it's probably going to be Scott Gamble. I'll tell you what, look at the disco down on pit lane with all the flashing lights too.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things you get out of the night racing. So Gamble gets out. Not bad for Vanderkran, hey.
Yeah,
He's had quite a short stop, though.
Yeah. So the other thing is, I would say, is that Sean McNamara is a really, really interesting case that we've got to keep half an eye on. He's dived in for his second stop. His 2 stops are done for the night.
Yeah, so again, everyone who had their first stop completed already can do their second, and this is looking like Long Beach in that situation. So we said if the safety car comes out when some have made their first stop but some haven't, then it gives the opportunity for those who've already made their first stop to go ahead and make their second, and then things look pretty juicy for them. So we're looking at who's the best placed car that's made 2 stops, and I think it's McNamara, isn't it?
I think
Sorry, Whiting, McNamara, Latta, and Cairns are all sitting in that really, really nice position. Remember, at Long Beach earlier in the season, again, another Damien Cairns strategy masterclass.
Just looking at a few different people, I think McCune also, no, McCune did a drive through, no, McCune, I believe, has only done 1. So drivers with the 2 next to their name is Michael Whiting, Sean McNamara, both on their second stop, Ken and Latta. So Whiting popped out ahead. Damien Cairns also done his second stop, and David Kirby. And again, remember what we were saying at the top end of the show? It's a risk to stay out, but it's a risk to come to the lane. These short races is just giving us a... This is going to become a blockbuster. Because again, Gamble's on the wrong strategy.
Absolutely fascinating. So then again,
I can't believe that's happened twice in a season. Because how good was the Long Beach race? That was the race of the season.
let's get a Gamble dyno. I reckon it's oof.
What problem is trying to read his mind, and I think he looks deflated because he knows.
I'm not trying to read his mind. I think I'm trying to read how sweaty he looks. It's a little bit more than usual.
I would agree with that. He definitely looks a little bit more hot than he normally does, actually. I don't think they said we're going green this time. We might just grab him quickly if we can. Scotty, it's the guys up in the commentary booth, mate. We got you on the webcam here at the moment. You're sitting down there. You're looking a little bit hot under the collar. She's a quick old racetrack with lots going on around here.
Yeah, there sure is, mate. It's full concentration. So I was just sort of looking at the other guys that pitted twice where they managed to get another stop in on that safety car. So it's going to be hard. Going to have to go hard all the way to the end now, mate.
All right, mate. Well, you still got the lead of the field, so the rule I'm guessing here from you is just going to be you've just got to go as hard as you can, build as much of a margin as you can, and hope the guys that have only stopped once in the middle are going to offer you some sort of buffer. I'm assuming that's the strategy?
Yeah, that's right. Just go as fast as we can, try and pull a bit of a gap. It is a long way down that pit lane for such a short track. So, yeah, we'll do our best, mate, and see what happens.
Mate, the big thing here, tyre fall off. It's very difficult to look after the tyres, particularly we've got ourselves, what, a 30-ish lap run to the end of the race from here. Are you going to try and split it in half? Are we going to run to about 20? You know, what's the call?
Yeah, I'll see what the drop-off is. Like you said, the tyres, yeah, the rears go away quite quickly and it's a little vague on the front at times. So, yeah, we're going to have to just see how it goes, see what happens in the race, what happens behind us, and how the other guys are travelling. Hopefully we can build a bit of a gap back from, Michael backwards. So, yeah, we'll see how we go, mate.
All right, mate, I don't think we're going green this lap, so we do have a little bit longer because we would have heard of something by now. Relaxation though wise, it looks like Sean's sitting second in terms of the queue of cars. Was there a little bit of a chat of we need going green at the end of the next lap, so we'll get you out of here in the near future, but was there some chatter about potentially pitting early to avoid the risk of the Long Beach situation, or
yeah, well, the Long Beach picked up the right leader this time, mate, so it should be alright, but yeah, there is a risk of that. He did mention that he was pitting and he did think there was going to be a safety car. I sort of, as he mentioned that, I was going past pit lane, so I didn't have the opportunity to duck in, but, is what it is. So we'll just do the best we can from here, mate, and, yeah, it's going to be tough, that's for sure.
All right, mate. Well, best of luck. We'll leave you with it. You've got a field to lead away, so have fun, and we'll see you on the other side.
Thanks, Scotty. Cheers.
I figured, you know, it's a little bit of a safety car, a little bit of an opportunity to get that one in. Don't normally get an opportunity to chat to the drivers when it's green flag all the way.
Scott to Scott chat to Scott communication. So this is what brought out safety car, and Travis Hunt was having internet issues, and he sort of respawned in someone else, flipped him around directly in front of Dan Hall. I mean, the only Dan Hall's perspective is what we're about to get, and he's probably about to be massively blindsided by this. It's unfortunate for Travis Hunt, and it's unfortunate for everyone else he's collected.
Oh, there's just a car
What can you do?
There's nothing you can do.
Absolutely nothing. Just a stationary car appears in the night,
And the other
like
side
that,
of the coin
straight in
is
front of him.
Travis would have been racing somebody who wouldn't have been able to see him, so he wouldn't have been ricocheted across the track without... Yeah, so that's the first time Travis pops out, so whether or not he had a spin, you can just see the damage to Dan Hall's car straight away. The safety car's just about to start pulling away from the field, by the way, so we'll be back green in a few moments.
And if you're looking at any pit stop times or anything like that, you see Matt Vanderkraan here in second. He took a really short first pit stop, trying to gain a little bit of track position. He kind of got that, but then I think the safety car's gone the other way on him, because now it bunches everyone back up. Vanderkraan's the driver who still needs to take a second stop and will need to take a really long one. Gamble at least took a decent drink of fuel at his first stop, so he can pace away from the field here and hopefully not have too long of a second stop. And it is still a long way to go on those tyres for everyone who's going to try to get home from here.
And instead, as well, it's very difficult on rear tyres. You know what helps out drive and traction out of the corners? A little bit more gas in the tank. So I think Vanderkraan's going to be quite pacey on this restart. Maybe not enough to necessarily take the spot, but he'll have a crack. But for the meantime, safety car has returned to the lane. We are at the back end of lap number 19. Lap number 20 is going to be started in just a few moments. They're gone before we even get to the final corner, because Gamble does not want to wait. He wants to use every little bit of track away to try and pull away from the field. 26 laps remain. We are on lap number 20. Here we go for safety car restart number 1. The field is mixed, and Blake Delaney is waiting no time to get down to the inside of Matt Vanderkraan. He's going to have the inside at turn number 2. Does Vanderkraan yield? Yes, he does. Just tries to slot back into the queue wherever he possibly can. The big part now is that Matty Parker's managed to find his way. He's all the way up the field to 4th. Can they continue to cut their way through? Who's got the rubber? Who's going to go for that aggressive style of strategy? And keep your eyes on Michael Whiting as well, the leader, the effective race leader of the drivers who have managed to get their second stop on board. That is a very, very important number to keep your eyes on. Ken Latta, Damien Cairns as well. They're also in the mix with the corrected race strategy.
Didn't get a great look at it, but Matt Vanderkraan just a little bit behind on that restart, a little bit off Scott Gamble, and then Blake Delaney obviously saw it coming as well, because then he was straight down the inside there and into that second place. For Whiting here, he's got to look to get through a couple of these cars, honestly, if he is quicker than them, but he can't afford to chew up his tyres too bad. And then there's a couple of other hungry guys behind him on the same strategy as him. So it's not easy from here, even though the strategy's played out well for Whiting.
Yeah, so now he's going to try and continue cutting his way through the track. Next target is going to be Scott McCune, and the difficulty right now is they're all on equalised tyres. There's only a couple of laps in between tyres at the absolute most, and there's been no opportunity for that fall off. How aggressive is he going to race? We know that they can go the distance here on fuel. Fuel will not be a question mark over any of these drivers unless they've under fuel just a touch. But for the meantime, McCune a touch offline at turn 3, presented a little bit of an opportunity. Now he doesn't quite carry the speed through 4, through 5 that Whiting was quite able to carry. But Whiting's not close enough to try and range up and get the job done. He'll show the nose just in case an opportunity presents itself. But the problem is it's got to be a measured amount of aggression. A little bit of a slip up with an overtake attempt, and McNamara will be right there to pounce as well.
I'm looking at the lane transit times, and I'm going to guess at this point that Scott Gamble probably needs 25 seconds over Michael Whiting to be able to make a stop and come out in front. So probably he's going to look for 15 or 20 seconds, make his stop, have much fresher tyres, and then just try to take that final 5 seconds in the final stint of this race. But that's the kind of margin Scott Gamble's got to pull between now and the checkered flag. 25 seconds over Michael Whiting. Have a look at this. Does the left hand ever go on the steering wheel around here for Scott McCune? Like I said, super short ratios. Third gear, fourth gear, fifth gear. You're just constantly pulling up and down gears.
Yeah. Finally might think about lifting off it, but no, he's got a death grip on that shifter at the moment. Look at him just bashing it back down through the gears as well as they try to get their way through. And the big key is, I'm keeping half an eye on. Have a look at the shot in the bottom right-hand corner. That's the rear shot back to Michael Whiting. Have a look at Scott McCune's view, because that is the shot to Tim Nichols. He tries to cut his way through. We'll flip him over and have a look in the other direction. He's getting quite close and getting racy with Tim Nichols as well. He'd love an opportunity to slice his way through. That could come with a little bit of costliness as well. Jeff Thomas is up and inside the top 6 now. He's right on the rear bumper of Stephen Varga and Matty Parker. So there's going to be a few guys that are all sort of checked up. It's just, where do you look? Because the train is just so massive everywhere. There is a snake of people trying to get jobs done. And I tell you what, Jeff Thomas really just closed up in the back of Varga as well. So he's getting quite dicey up at the front.
So this is the graphic that is so informative for who's best placed to win this race. Scott Gamble versus Michael Whiting. Gamble in the lead with 1 stop. Whiting in 9th, 2 stops. Cleared his final stop underneath that safety car. Gap out to 6 seconds. And look at it, sector by sector, it grows. With 23 laps, Scott Gamble needs to get that number to 25 seconds or so. So it's going well at the moment, while there's still a little bit of traffic in front for Whiting. Whiting then also needs to preserve his tyres, but 25 seconds looks like a big number for that Gamble is going to need. And he's probably not going to be able to get that before his stop to completely come out back in the lead. It's going to be, rejoin in 2nd or 3rd, and Gamble need to use those fresher tyres at the end to win this one.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of guys in this queue that also still need to do their 2nd stop, so they haven't quite got the strategy either. Worthwhile thinking about. It's just, you can just see the difficulty level with getting those overtakes done, and Whiting still has not got the job done. So it's going to be a really, really interesting fight, and yet again, the tale of what could this race have been. And the other side of the coin is, if we get another safety car, if you're in Scott Gamble's shoes, you just have to pit, because you can't afford to give up that much track time. Oh, there's been a wreck out of the final corner. Around goes Tim Nichols. And for Tim, a new team, and a rear wing bouncing down the road. No longer a part of the Quantum Pecky's performance outfit, and they've changed their name as well as a result. And that's no longer working the way that he necessarily would have liked. That one for Tim Nichols.
Sprayed a couple of spare parts around the final corner as well, and you're in such a difficult position. Unsighted, trying to get the car around, and he knew there's nothing he could do that wasn't just going to cause another bigger, massive incident there as well. So he just had to hold and wait for a bit, and he was right up against the wall as well.
Someone dial up Cam Waters' Sandown car from 2023. I think we found a replacement wing for him.
Crazy that was a year ago, the bouncing tyre situation.
Yeah, hasn't that gone quick? For Tim Nichols, that is Scott McCune. Just Nichols wide at the apex, and McCune picked up the throttle.
Yeah, Nichols has like 2 stabs at it there as well, but that does not excuse you driving your nose under him. So, yeah, Nichols like up against the apex and then wide and coming back for a late one, and yeah. I mean, it's all McCune, but you see how it happened, and he's like, "Can I redress this? Can I redress this?" No, apparently not.
Well, it's going to be a long tumble through the field for both of those guys. What it does do, though, is opens up a little bit of a hole for Michael Whiting. And the benefit there is that all of a sudden, Whiting's pace recovers now as well, although he's got a lot of fuel on board. So he's fueled to the end of the race. There will be no more fuel, which means that he is certainly heavier than Scott Gamble at this point in time. Can Gamble make any headway out of that one? That's going to tell the story. Jeff Thomas just sliced it down the inside of Stephen Varga. Hasn't completed the pass, but he will have the inside at the fast kink here at turn 7. Manages to park it up along the inside. Job done for Jeff Thomas, moves one spot further forward. Now he's a touch wide. Will present an opportunity for Varga to come back at him. You can see working very hard.
Not so hard that he can't get his left hand back to the steering wheel, but yeah, it spends more time on the shifter than the wheel for sure with a lot of these guys. So many gear shifts.
That's he's just come out of the last corner. Let's count them around the lap. Start finish lines not all the way till about now. 1. So 1 up. 1, 2, 3, 4 down on the run down at turn number 1. Back to second gear. We'll tip it in. Up to third. So there's 7 shifts thus far.
We went for 8.
We went for 8, 9, 10, all the way up to 6 gear. From 6 gear back to second once again. Down 4 more, 14 gear shifts. We're only at turn 6 of 11. Up to 5th gear, so 3 more, 17 shifts right now on 3.4 kilometers. Think about that as well. Back down 2 to 19. Tips it into the left-hander. Back to the right. Not enough time in here to grab a gear. There will be 1 shift on the run down at turn number 10. 2 shifts on the run down at turn number 10. And then 2 shifts back down. This was what, 19 when we got down to 9. Yeah, up 1 on the run at a 10, so there was 20, down 2, down to 22. Up to 5th gear would be 23. Back down to second again would be 26, and then 3 more shifts before the line would be 28. 28 shifts over 3.4 kilometers. It's about a shift, a little bit more than every 100 meters or so.
It's rather predictable drive-through for Scott McCune. Contact that we saw in the final corner that sent Tim Nicol around. I don't think he was surprised to see that. Sends him for a drive-through and makes this a tough race for him.
Yeah.
How clean was Michael Whiting getting through that as well, by the way? Because you saw it a couple of times on the replay. He's in 9th, 2 cars in front of him collide, and he picks exactly the right side to go, goes through up into 7th position. Now he's again rolling around here. He should be trying to look after those tyres a little bit if he can, because he knows everyone in front of him's got a pit. He's not losing too much time right now. What he can't afford to do is burn his tyres off here, trying to make passes that won't happen on cars that are going to need to pit anyway, and have nothing left at the end. And so there he is, still with McNamara playing patient behind him. Ken Ladder patient behind that. Damien Cairns has just dropped a tiny bit of time to them, but he's still in a very nice little strategy position. The car behind him, Lorne Mackay, still needs a second spot. So it's not like Damien Cairns is coming under pressure from anyone else who's made 2 stops to this point either.
This nearly helps Damien a lot, doesn't it? Because he's just chilling at the moment. He's not really trying to press on. He's not really trying to fall back. There's no one harassing him. So the biggest, he doesn't have to defend, doesn't have to attack. He's just got to hit his numbers, hit his line, hit his mark. So this next phase of the race, a little bit easier for Damien Cairns than for everyone else, and he knows that he's being watched at the moment.
Shocker's right back at you, my bro.
Hey, how are you watching the stream and driving around this racetrack with 28 shifts across a 3.4 kilometer lap?
Yeah, is it a small window on the 4th monitor, or is someone in chat letting me know?
Like, someone's got to be in his ear, surely. According to my knowledge, he hasn't got a spotter in, so... And Stephen Varga's going to dive out of the lane, by the way, and that was one of the drivers was ahead of Michael Whiting. He's going to make his final stop of the race. And it was right as Whiting caught him, he just pulled into the lane.
Yeah, and I think Matt Vanderkran's going to have to stop again pretty soon as well, because he had such a short stop and now has run a bunch of laps since then. So there's a few other cars that are just going to slowly pull out of the way for Michael Whiting, and that's when it starts to look positive for him And also Sean McNamara, who's right there, still also a good chance. I think McNamara as good a chance as Michael Whiting at this one. Take another look at those margins and see when it's just opened up a little bit in front of Whiting. Now he's gone from losing half a second a lap to Gamble, and you're thinking, actually, Gamble has enough laps to do this, to like, actually only 2/10, only 2/10. It still leaves a lot of work for Scott Gamble to do. Whiting is just, he's trying to look after it, I reckon, but the tough for him is he's between trying to look after his tyres, not let Scott Gamble get too far ahead, and also not give up anything to Sean McNamara, who's just behind a couple of battling cars in front of them here, is Matty Parker and Jeff Thomas.
Very iconic rear wing of Matty Parker. You cannot miss that one. You know exactly who's wearing that. And Jeff Thomas has certainly been having a crack this lap. We've lost a touch of time back to Michael Whiting, just with the amount of squabbling they're doing at the moment. You can definitely see that Parker is struggling right now. Jeff Thomas has got a lot more pace on board. And this is going to give him every opportunity to just close that margin up. Whiting will just be looking at these guys and going, okay, we've got a little bit of a review to fight. Now they're actually going to make some contact as well, because Thomas definitely gave a Matty Parker the old hurry up.
Yeah, 20.6 from Matty Parker, while Whiting and McNamara at 20.2, 20.3. So they're just starting to sail in on this as well. 15 laps to go this time around. So it is, in an ordinary situation, to be getting time to your second stop. But if you're any of these drivers who didn't get that second stop in, you're trying to run this middle stint very, very long to not drop you immediately all of those positions, all of that track position. You're trying to do similar to Scott Gamble, which is build out a little bit of gap before you're forced to pit.
Just need anything they possibly can. The gaps are starting to build in the back. At the moment, Gamble's going to feed in somewhere around 25th or so. That's how far he's going to fall. So he's got to extend this. The problem is, as soon as he feeds in behind those cars, he's stuck. He's not going to get the overtakes done that he necessarily wants to. So I'm going to be honest, Dave, I think he's going to run this as dry. I think he's going to take this as long as he physically can.
Yeah, that's the game, and he can go a little bit longer because he had 25 seconds of fuel in his first stop. Well, Matt Vanderkraan only had 18, Matty Parker here only had 19, Jeff Thomas only had 21. So all of them are going to have to call it and get more fuel a little bit earlier than how deep Scott Gamble ought to be able to run this one.
He's continuing to make margin. The reason why we are talking about how far back he's going to fall, 29, so you're then saying even further back than what we're estimating. And the problem I've got is that
I'm reading it slightly differently, because the total time in the stall and time in the lane, the actual loss is just a tiny bit less, because you cut a little bit on the entry, and then pit exit is, you know, further around the racetrack than pit entry is. So really, you don't lose quite as much.
Car parks for the exit of turn 2. This might be a get out of jail free card for a bunch of these guys. Parker's in, Vanderkraan's in, and I'm not 100% sure who it is, but I can tell you it is Lorne Mackay. He's a long way off the track though.
Somewhere in the dark.
So Lorne Mackay he's headed.
Get out the rescue chopper. Where's he at?
So he's actually up. See.
He's what? So you reckon he's all these really short gears? You reckon he's blown the engine on a downshift, coasted out of one, and tried to get as far out of the way as possible, and they've been able to recover him from there?
He had an engine. The last time that we saw him, he actually had an engine, and the light on the rear end of his car was still, it wasn't flashing until after he pulled off the track. So he did have a big old blink, a big old issue. It's teleporting off the track.
Okay.
And then when he rejoins, it's damage to him. So issues with the connection for Lorne, and then he just pulls off to the side. I wonder whether or not he's taken a look at, oh, my connection's really, really bad, and gotten out of the way of everyone.
Well, it enticed a couple of drivers to pit, so he's trying to stay out of the way and then. Drives it off there. You saw Matt Vanderkran go to pit, Matt Parker go to pit, Jeff Thomas has gone to pit, Michael Whiting goes through into third and get more clean air on his nose here as well. I think this is good for Whiting and McNamara that we stay green but have had a couple of cars pit from in front of them. They look a little racier now than they did immediately off that restart, I think.
Yeah, well, McNamara looks like he's got a little bit more pace and bunch more cars pit. I think Blake Delaney was not one of them. Who's the car that's actually just ahead of these guys? It's Jeff Thomas.
Is this a team boss battle?
Oh, sorry, my apologies. Not Jeff Thomas. It is, you're right. It is a team boss battle. This point in time, McNamara's going to send it down the inside. Doesn't get far enough up, but he is given the space by Whiting. Now who's going to get the drive out the other side? The difficulty with overtaking around this track is that every single time you pull alongside, the corner goes back the other way, the next corner, the long way around at the final corner. There's no grip on the outside. Now he looks for the transition. He's looking for the crisscross. Can he get the drive out the other side? No, he can't. So whilst McNamara does start to find some speed, a way by is not forthcoming.
Yeah, he's doing his driver Scott Gamble a bit of a solid here though. Of course, he also stands a very, very strong chance of being able to come away from Motegi with a race win if he can be the best driver on this particular strategy, the one that Michael Whiting, Sean McNamara, Ken Latter and Damien Cairns are on. Sean McNamara seems like the raciest driver on that strategy at the moment, 11 seconds away from race leader Scott Gamble, who is now, I think, beginning to run out of laps to make this bolt out ahead, get your stop and still come back in a competitive position thing work.
Yeah, certainly. It's the thing is for Gamble, where does he pop out? Because that track is now congested. There are cars everywhere, so there is not going to be a clean bit of road for him to just rejoin into.
I have him as he could still come out ahead of 13th place Greg Sharp with a really good stop, but if he's a little bit behind that, you're right, super congested there. It's David Kirby. Same strategy. Blake Delaney pits from second, so there's only one driver left out front of Whiting and McNamara, and it's Scott Gamble.
And the difficulty for Scott Gamble is that we sort of got to track the Blake Delaney pit stop because it was, 7 seconds off the lead? 5 seconds off the lead? Somewhere in that realm. And that'll give us a really, really good mark because Delaney I reckon Delaney took a splash and dash. I don't think he's taking tyres.
9 seconds. He could just them tyres. So here he is. There's 13th, 14th, 15th, just ahead of him. So I imagine Gamble could come out ahead of this group, which is what he'd be hoping to do. Blake Delaney's unfortunately fed out right in the middle of it. But how much fresher are his tyres? Not on 18 laps on these guys. So let's see how much that rear tyre drop-off really is worth if Delaney can just scythe through this and make passing look easy around a circuit and a configuration where it hasn't been.
Well, how hard do you fight this if you're Craig Friend, who's the next car on track? Delaney's going to pull to his inside, try and slide it down. The inside does manage to get down the inside, and the key part is the traction out the other side. The rear tyres are the key to look after on these cars. That's what you want the fresh tyres for. And Blake Delaney has wasted no time, picks one off up to 15. Now he's got to get down after. Christian Smart, Paul Warwick and Greg Sharp are the next 3 cars on track. 2 of them teammates to Blake Delaney. They won't make this too difficult either. This will put pressure on what is Gamble going to do.
He just pulls like a car length or 2 out of those traction zones everywhere, and that makes the passing easy. Is you make him defend, then you just pull better traction out of the next corner, you get alongside, next corner, you pull better traction on him again, you're out in front. So this is where I think Gamble could rejoin in front of is Greg Sharp.
And that's critical. He's got to rejoin in front of these guys because he cannot afford to rejoin in behind these guys at the moment. And with where he's estimated to pull out, it might even be further along.
I reckon he could get ahead of Crisdale in 7th if Scott Gamble stopped now. He won't. He'll take this just a little bit further. But suddenly, yeah, it's opening up from it. If he took his stop now, he'd be in 30th. If he took his stop now, he'd be in 8th.
Well, the biggest thing is he needs to pull out ahead. If he pops out ahead of Crisdale, there is every chance that he might have enough time to drive his way back to the podium. Might. In the meantime, these two drivers that we're just watching in behind is Paul Warwick and Christian Smart are going side by side, and Blake Delaney's arrived right on them and wants to get on with business. He's going to pull to the inside, slides it straight away. First time of asking down on the teammate. Christian Smart gets another job done. 14th spot. Now the overtakes start to come thick and fast for Blake Delaney, but the tyre conditions going to start to equalise and fade away from him from here. So he's got to be aggressive. Would not be surprised if he just pulls out and has a crack at Paul Warwick, either final corner or down the start-finish straight, because he's just got to. He doesn't have a choice.
Delaney goes in turn one, so he's really squared himself off. Just mega traction, but these other guys can't quite match off the slow corners. 4 or 5 of them around the lap here.
He's absolutely going to have... No, he doesn't have a stab. He does not have a stab. A little bit of a wiggle in the braking zone as well. He got the left rear tyre into the grass, just over the top of the curb on the run down the hill. Maybe it's going to be all the way down at turn 6. Better car positioning through 3, 4, gets the run through 5. Does start to build the run. He is a touch closer than he was, but still a long way back. It's a shorter braking zone down here at 6, but he's just not pulling out. Something's just happened to Chad Lewis as well, so I have a feeling there'll be a replay required. Well, Dave, it's been a pretty aggressive, pretty entertaining 150-kilometre race, and we're only about 2/3 or 3/4 of the way through it.
Yep, and got Scott Gamble pitting right now, so he's having a super quick one. We'll try to... Chad Lewis versus Jason Fewens down towards turn 1 here. I think Fewens comes across just a little bit there. Lewis gets down the inside. Fewens is trying to hold his ground around the outside.
Just make contact all the way through. That's just hard racing. Nobody gained, nobody
Is that
alive.
though?
That's it. Yeah, that's the... He's too happy.
So Gamble's out. He's 5th. He's in 5th position behind Damien Cairns, Ken Latta, Sean McNamara, Michael Whiting leading the race at the moment. Absolutely, I reckon Gamble can get Cairns, but can he get to Latta? Can he get to McNamara? Can he get to Whiting with just 7 laps to go? You need more than a second a lap, and I'm not sure he's got that out of the tyre advantage and got it for 7 consecutive laps.
Issue. Stephen Varga just had an issue, and I think there's more that's going on as well. I think Darren Goose has been affected. Indeed he has.
Fewens trying to redress something here on Goosey. Car looks just a little rough for Jason Fewens there. So he was part of that sort of intense battle pack here.
Yeah. Difficult one, that. So you can see Varga gets down the inside. Varga's on fresh rubber here. Remember, he was one of those drivers that stayed out. He just tried to cover him. Fewens has missed the corner there. And then he's offline, so he's double tagged. So fortunately for Darren Goosey, gets tagged. Jason Fewens has got 2 marks against his name on that one. I tell you what, the difference between Gamble, he's taken 1.6 seconds out of Damien Cairns since he pit.
Yeah, but now that Whiting and McNamara know where he's fed back in, I think it's game on between those two, 0.2 of a second apart for the race lead, and I think they can battle and still keep this race lead, because Gamble's got immense pace. He needs to get past Cairns, he needs to get past Latta. I don't think in these approaching 5 laps to go kind of time that he's going to get up towards these two. So it's game on.
Are you saying that it hasn't been game on this entire time? I think it has.
I'm saying they were playing it just a little bit more careful with the tyres initially, a little bit more careful with the fuel. Now that you see exactly where Gamble feeds back in, it's a little more on.
With the margin, he's taken another second, I think, on that lap out of Damien Cairns. So he is 1.7 seconds. 1.7 seconds out of Damien Cairns on the most recent lap. Scott Gamble. He is coming. It's under a second already. He is really pushing on. Well, he's got to. He doesn't have a choice.
For me, the big question here is, can Scott Gamble still get to a podium?
Oh, he can't
look
just
at
let
this.
it go. He's not interested. Wow, he took half a second out of Ken Ladder in the first sector. 7 more of those and he's going to be on him. He took 2 seconds out of Ken Ladder on the last lap. He's going to be on Ken Ladder next lap, and there's 6 laps left at the start of this lap, so he's going to have more than enough time to get to Ken Ladder and at least challenge for a podium. I think the race wins out of the question for sure, but at least onto the podium. And
yeah, so half a second sector 1, 2/10 sector 2, sector 3, taking yet more time out of Ken Ladder. So Ladder's right in the middle. He can see the battle for the race lead up in front of him. He can see Scott Gamble closing in behind him.
Oh.
We have 5 to go. 3.4 kilometre layout of Motegi East.
1.7 seconds across the lap. Are you kidding me? Well, he's in with a shot. Anything can happen from here. He put 1.2 seconds out of both the race leaders. He is 6 seconds back from those guys, so he is going to run out of time. There is no way that he gets to them unless they start to battle. And they do want to battle for that race win. This is the Zoom feed that is telling us the story, and you can see Ken Ladder knows that he is being hunted.
You can watch Ken Ladder's inputs and then immediately see 2 seconds later Scott Gamble also wheels in, the same amount of steering and then unlocks it. So Ladder goes a little bit left-hand down, Gamble goes that left-hand down, and the gap between the copycat gets less and less and less each lap.
Well, it's already been reduced by another 0.8 of a second on this lap thus far. And it's out of the traction zone down at turn 10 where I think the biggest margins are being yielded, the biggest gains. It's all the traction zones. Margins now down to 1.5 seconds between these two. We'll cross the start-finish line. There'll be 4 more laps left to run from Mobility Resort Motegi. Time is running out, and Supercars puts on a show when we head underneath the lights in Japan. Oh, the margin's still just being eked out, 1.2 seconds. And the leaders are still going toe-to-toe as well, so we've just got to keep them in the back of our minds.
25-hole tyres for the podium at the moment, and so that's where Gamble's making all of these gains, but he's still a little bit away from his own PBs as well for Whiting, McNamara and Ladder. It's about having some amount of tyre left on that final lap.
I think they need their tyre left now, and I think they need to be using it now, and you just get the feeling that Whiting is trying to use it. He's trying to shake McNamara, but at this level of competition, with how close the cars are, with how close the drivers are, they've got equal machinery. The only thing they can change is the brake bias. The other thing is the fuel they added in at the stop. Those are the only things that you can tinker with on this car. It comes down to a battle between man. The machine, well, it's there. It's got a bunch of characteristics. But other than that, it don't matter. And now Gamble is right on a Ken Ladder. And these guys have had stoushes over the years. You just see, he just can't turn the car back down. Gamble's already got alongside. Little bit of side draft will start to kick in, and you can see that Gamble's getting a little bit better of a run in a straight line. They're neck and neck as they head down the braking zone to turn number 1. 3 more laps left to run. Under 10 kilometres when we get to turn 1. Ladder runs it in deep. Just barely manages to pull the car up. He'll get away with that one. Just. And Gamble puts 1 foot back on the podium, and now he says, right, boys, who's my next victim? Do I have enough time? Don't care. I'm putting the loud pedal to the floor. Here I come.
Traction difference was insane. Gamble goes through into 3rd place with 3 laps to go, and he's going to need more than a 1.5 seconds per lap if he's going to get to your race leaders. Whiting seems to have found a little bit more pace to get down to a 20.2 on the last lap. They spent a lot of time doing sort of 120.5s, 120.6s here. Whiting seems to have just found a little bit more late on here. That pace, for the age of the tyres, is not bad at all. 120.2.
Yep, so the fuel burns out. The night runs low in Motegi. And they're going to try and go to the final few kilometres. We're going to come out of the final corner. We're going to have 6.8 kilometres left to run. Time's running out. Gamble's doing everything he possibly can, but I think you can now put a line through him. It's going to be on between these two. They're going to have an almighty stoush for Scott Gamble to get there. And when I said Long Beach was the race of the season, I didn't think that we were going to get another one like it. Give me more 150-kilometer blockbusters. How good's the strategy adding into this?
I know if that safety car restart, there would have been so much temptation for Michael Whiting to burn through the tyres early, trying to make a couple of those passes, but he didn't. I don't think we really saw him make any. He just waited patiently for all of them to pit in front of him, and he saved some of his best for last. Look at this, just picking up yet more pace again, 20.1 on the last lap. And you need to be doing 121s here for Scott Gamble to have a chance. Whiting has just done so well to just be so calm and careful on those tyres, take no risk when he didn't need to, and really, really put it down in these final 5 laps to just keep McNamara at bay and keep Gamble at bay.
You know, how interesting is it, Dave, that at any stage, if Michael Whiting had to actually pulled off an overtake, that would have been enough for Scott Gamble to be in this. If he'd have lost a second anywhere along the journey, that's all they needed to do, and then Gamble would have been there. One more lap left to run. They'll come out of the final corner. And the last time that the V8 veterans went to Mobility Resorts Motegi East was Michael Taliangic in a huge scrap with Darren Lobb and a bunch of other drivers out of the final corner. Ran out of fuel and lost a ton of spots on the run downhill to the line. Jamie McKnight, though, is going to have a stoush on with these few drivers, and he pulls it across the inside. He's going to look to cover. Gets back to the racing line. What's Poynton going to do? What is Blake Delaney going to do with fresh rubber on both of these guys as well? Because remember, he is going to have the traction when they get down here. How good's the drive for Mark Poynton, though? He's cut his way through the field to get to here. 15 spots up on the night.
Now it's on. Whiting's lost a bit of time so far on this lap. McNamara's all over him. I think he might have got a bad exit off at turn 5 from Michael Whiting. That's where McNamara had a little bit of a sniff. And again, you don't know if you've got enough fuel until you're out of that final corner and crossing the checkered flag.
Oh, I think you're right. I think he might be struggling in terms of fuel. And it's been that tight all night long. He's had to lift early. McNamara's crawling all over him. Gamble's not going to get there. Gamble's going to run out of time. It was a short pit stop. I did know that, but I never really said anything about it. Whiting's going to cover it all the way through. Lifts off a little bit early. Has he got the gas to get to the line? It is going to be covered by nothing in it. Final corner, final run to the flag. Does Michael Whiting have the fuel? Yes, he does. Mobility Resort Motegi. Michael Whiting's going to be your winner for Fishy Motorsports. McNamara home in second, and Scott Gamble rues what might have been.
But this is always what happens. You think, oh, he's absolutely been nailed on this strategy, and then he still gets a podium. So, I mean, these bad races are not horrible for Scott Gamble, but Michael Whiting, McNamara, perfect place, perfect time, great strategy. Lots of other battles here where you've got drivers who've made that second stop, trying to come through on their fresher tyres and maybe not making the gains they were hoping for.
Phenomenal drives up and down the field. Who got the job done in that final lap between 7th, 8th and 9th was Jamie McKnight. Did manage to hang on to it from Poynton for Blake Delaney as well. Rear end of the field as well from David Nash, gets into 23rd. Worthy performance from him. David Kirby also plus 12 spots, finishes inside the top 10 as well. He'll be very, very happy with that one. Corporate strategy on the nose yet again, did the Fishy Motorsports driver. And
I'm always impressed by, you know, when a driver like Michael Whiting has, you know, all of the lollies in their hand and spend that 15 laps not eating them because they know right at the end is when it's going to matter, and he saved everything and nothing else till right at the end.
Yeah, now we'll get to celebrate. So there's some question marks over fuel. I think those question marks have been solved. There was no question marks. Was he trying to save a little bit of fuel for donuts? Well, either way, he's got enough to at least do 2. So he's going to light it up underneath the start-finish line. Mobility Resorts Motegi. I cannot believe we got 2 Long Beach blockbusters on the season.
It's that really narrow window in the race that gives us this kind of thing. It's when half of the field have made their first stop, half of the field haven't made their first stop, no one's made their second stop yet, that stopping under that safety car clears half of the field for their second, and the other half of the field like, uh-oh, I'm still going to need to make a green flag stop, while half of the field are good to go and have cleared it. So a really late safety car doesn't do it. Everyone's already made their second stop. A really early safety car, no one's made their first stop yet. It's this window somewhere between like 8 laps into the race and 12, 13 laps into the race. Right there is that's the Long Beach situation, a little bit like a Bermuda Triangle of strategy.
And it's right in the middle of that first pit stop. The other thing I was just listening into on the in-race radio as well was a little bit of sportsmanship, so I do want to shout it out because I think that's very, very key to everything that goes on here at the V8 Veterans. So we'll take a few moments to enjoy Michael Whiting doing his burnouts in the background. And it was Scott McCune immediately, as soon as the race was over, straight at Tim Nicol on the in-race radio. Apologies, and another apology came out of Jason Fjords as well. So sportsmanship at its finest was, the big key is when you get in an incident and you make contact with somebody, you stick your hand up, you own it, you apologise, and I'm seeing a fair bit of that. Righto, well, those are the final results. Michael Whiting from Sean McNamara, Scott Gamble home in third, that's your podium. Ken Latta gets home in fourth spot, fell a fair way by the wayside. Damien Cairns is going to register another top 5 performance. He's doing really, really well consistently as well. David Kirby from Jamie McKnight, both home inside the top 10. They'll be exceptionally happy with that one. Mark Poynton grabbed a whole bunch of spots. And I'm looking at him and thinking, is that potentially a driver of the day performance? Blake Delaney, Brad Doble round out your top 10. Right over Leaf for Robbie Crisdale from Dean Flavelle. Chris Smart, Greg Sharp, Craig Friend. A lot of these guys just didn't catch on to the strategy. Paul Warwick, for Stone Street, Darren Crosby. Matty Parker recovered to 20th spot after being on the wrong side of the strategy as well. And John Gallen gets home in 21st, so some spots gained for him. Matt Vanderkraan down in 22nd, not happy with that. David Nash started from the pit lane to 23rd. Robbie Griffiths from Stephen Varka. Chad Lewis, Darren Goosey, Jason Fjord, Scott McHugh, Gary Buckland. So a few drivers with pit lane penalties towards the tail end. And Buckland did get tagged in that one as well to think about. Murray Raleigh for Jeff Thomas. So something happened to Jeff late on in that one as well. Does stay on the lead lap. Lorne Mackay, 2 laps down, did manage to get back out there and keep circulating. Tim Nicol went to 3 laps down. Stewie Hall retired and will not score points as well because the critical lap number was lap 34. Travis Hunt and Dan Hall both not scoring points as well. So that is the entire field, ladies and gentlemen. Time to jump into the podiums and we'll get this one up of the way. We'll chat to the guy who finished third. Chatted to him a few times on the safety car as well. And that sounds a little bit frustrated. Scotty, you drove it hard, you threw everything you possibly had at it, and you got back to within 3.5 seconds of the race win. You only probably needed, another 3 or 4 laps and you would have been there.
Yeah, how you going, guys? Well, that was fun, though. I still enjoyed it. And, more importantly, I got myself between, Ken and Sean. So that gives an extra couple of points to Sean for the championship. So I think that might move him up into P2 now by 1 point. So that was a goal on that stint, and we got there. But, yeah, that was good fun. I enjoyed it,
Something different, isn't it? That's the big thing. Is when it doesn't go your way in terms of the strategy. But we were sort of saying about Long Beach, it's just created 2 epic races where you've got to go out, you've got brand new rubber against guys, you get to get excited and have a crack at a bunch of different people, and we just don't see that often enough, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was good. I mean, Damien seen me coming, he just let me through, which was, fair enough, but I knew it was going to be on with Ken, and, we both went deep, like real deep into turn 1, didn't want to give each other an inch and outbroke ourselves, so... But, you're right, it does. It opens it up. It was good fun. I mean, I'm absolutely stoked to get up to P3 from there. At one stage I thought, hey, I might even be outside the 10. But, yeah, to get back up in the podium, Sean drove well. He just couldn't quite get it on Michael. Michael seemed to have a little bit extra drive on him, apparently, out of the corners. So well done to Michael and Sean, and Ken and Damien and all the others. I mean, it was a good fun. It was good fun, Scotty. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, good old-fashioned racing, mate. Who would you like to give a thank you and a shout-out to here tonight?
Yeah, look, I already mentioned Michael and Sean, good on them. That was great fun. Ken, as always, and Damien. And, to the other drivers, Jamie, P7. I haven't seen Jamie McKnight up the order there for a while into P7, so he drove really well. Good on him. And, to you guys at SimSpeed, love watching your broadcast. I'll be watching it later. To all the drivers, admin, race control, thank you. Could have called that safety car a little. 1 lap earlier, race control would have been nice, but that was good fun. So, looking forward to next week. I won't get much practice in. We're heading away, but whatever. We'll be back in time for the race, so that's the main thing.
Hey, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for having a chat to us, and we'll see you again next week.
All right, see you guys. Hopefully, anyway. All right, see you.
Dave Haynes is sitting down alongside of Sean McNamara. Get a chance to chat to the other of the 9.5 SimSport drivers.
Well, congratulations on that one, on the podium, battling up front a whole bunch of the way, and you just find yourself in that odd little strategy point as we, restart after that safety car. I'm sure the position you're in, but with a lot of cars in front of you that are going to eventually clear out, but not immediately.
Yeah, 100%. I'll just you've pulled Scotty in first, and it was a guarantee that he was going to do the sponsor thanks this week. So look out. But anyway, correct. It was it was clunky. It was a bit, obviously that safety car came at a weird time, and I think there was 9 or 10 cars that hadn't boxed, and I could tell Michael was just taking it easy there. He didn't want to force the issue, and we knew that there was a bit of time, but then when you look at it at the end, Gamble was coming bloody quick. So I thought Kenny was giving us a little bit of room as well, but it looked like he was on the fuel save. So really, really odd race, good race, hard track to pass at, and but Michael did a great job, and obviously Scott did a mega job to come back through to P3 there.
Yeah, you do your practice, you feel out the track, you've got an idea of what your strategy might look like, and then suddenly you've got to do 29, almost 30 laps on that one set of tyres.
Yeah, and I wasn't too phased on it, because the tyres sort of dropped off. It was good for 3 or 4 laps, and then it sort of dropped off the first stage after 5, 6 laps, and then it kind of just stayed there or thereabouts. So as long as you're on the bias, it actually looked after the tyre reasonably well. But I think Mr. Whiting, his exit drive was just a little bit stronger through the middle and back end of that stint. So he must have just looked after the rears a little bit nicer, and that was the difference. But it threw a spanner. I wanted to box, I wanted that undercut, and I think it would have worked, but then the safety car came out and just kind of put us all back together. But it was good fun. It was good fun.
And a couple of different gears throughout the racing, like that first part, and then after the safety car, and then those final 5 laps, you really, see, okay, everyone's pitted, we're racing for the lead here, and you really just get in there and have a go.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. A little bit tight of finishing second, so I could see Scott coming. I sort of felt like he'd get between myself and Ken from a championship point of view, and I didn't want to risk a bomb on Michael and put him out or put me in pit lane for a drive-through or something stupid. So kind of played it as conservative as I could at the back end there, while still putting as much pressure as I can on. But look, it was Michael drove really well. He kept it clean. He made a couple little mistakes, but they had some good side-by-side stuff with him as well. And he had a little bit of a dropout almost at the last corner with 5 to go, and that threw me because he didn't disappear off the screen, but he half ended up in the front of my car. So that threw me. I didn't want a net code, but look, really good racing. Only one safety car, which was pretty good, and can't say we really caught a lot of lap traffic either. So it was good.
Yeah, mid-race safety car might have saved you the lap down traffic on a short layout that you were otherwise due.
Yeah, 100%. Very good point. And I think while we were 10 laps in or something at that point. So 100%, definitely it. But obviously the times are a lot closer on this size track as well. So there was a lot of people practicing this week. You could see in the servers, I didn't get as much as I wanted, but a lot of the servers had 20 plus drivers in it. So you could tell tonight there was a lot of people that put a lot of effort in, and the margins were pretty tight really throughout the field. So really, really fun. Nice to do a night race as well, something different, some flames and all that stuff. It was good.
perpetually glowing rear brake rotors as well. Another hospital hand pass for you. You gotta thank the sponsors, Sean.
That's what I mean. How did that happen? Anyway, yeah. Of course, John, RaceKraft Simulations, mate. Thank you very much. RSW Graphics, Racing Ears, Custom Ears Protection, Prestige Cinematography, all your legends at SimSpeed. Thanks for everything you do, not just for this league, but every league. All the vets guys, all the admin crew. 200 races here in full splits, and you see all the guys in race control, so thanks to everyone there as well, and well done to Michael again, and well done to Scotty. So thanks, guys.
Brilliant.
Right, well, that's going to round out the interview with Sean McNamara. It's going to jump us ahead to tonight's race winner. Michael Whiting joins us in the commentary box. Mate, that was an epic little blockbuster, a real long charge on old tyres. That was set for a big grand finale, and we thought you might have been fuel saving those last couple laps. Was just to make sure you had enough in the tank for burnouts?
No, definitely not fuel saving, more tyre life than anything. Tyres were dead by the last 5 laps, so trying to get the power down was a bit of a struggle.
In terms of things, that safety car come out exactly when you wanted it to. Perfect opportunity to jump things through. And did you want to feel just a touch just to get out ahead of Sean? Like, what was the strategy going on there?
No, that was all Dave Coleman's strat tonight. So I basically said, look, this is how much fuel I want to put in, and then safety car came out, put that in, and then pitted before the safety car, then came back in and just put in what I thought I would need. Just happened to jump Sean and Kenny. So it just worked in my favour. So that's all down to Dave Coleman tonight. So I said I'd give him a big shout out tonight. So here it is.
Dave Coleman never does anything shout out worthy, mate. Don't give him.
So he's locked in for the rest of the season because he's 2 from 2. So
he's never far away from his PC on a Thursday night. He's been race controlling up until now, so it's good to see him. We finally got an opportunity to jump outside the booth and do something for you boys as well. Has it been nice just sort of having an extra voice, an extra set of hands around just to assist with everything that goes on with the racing?
Yeah, with Dave being race control and safety car, and behind the scenes with vets, he knows all the ins and outs and what we can and can't do and what we should and shouldn't do, and so having him around talking in our ear while we're racing is certainly helpful. Certainly made the difference, that's for sure.
Has he ever jumped on the mic in your ear and just said, that's a drive-through penalty, mate?
Yeah. Most of the time we know it's coming anyway. Sort of hoping that it doesn't, but he's like, yeah, no, mate, you're in trouble.
You guys always like to have fun. That's the big thing about the Fishy Group as well. Mate, congratulations on the race win here tonight. Who would you like to go thank you to?
So I'll give a shout out, obviously, once again, Dave Coleman for the strat tonight. Well done, buddy. All the boys at Fishy Motorsports, the admin, broadcasters, pretty much everyone in the Vets Leagues, one of the biggest supercar leagues in Australia. Obviously, major sponsor, West End Motor Group, DC Shades, Infinity Designs, Battery Warehouse, Early Beach, and yeah, obviously all the guys we race with, so happy days.
Thank you very much for your time here tonight, Michael. Congratulations on a race win, brother.
Cheers, guys.
Righto, that is going to wrap us up from Everything Mobility Resorts Motegi, but we do have one final choice to make. There's a few choices that we can make here for Driver of the Day, and I'll run through because there are actually some really, really cool stats in this. Mark Poynton gained the most spots inside the top 15 to finish, inside the top 10, to finish 8th. He gained plus 15. David Kirby also gained plus 12 to finish 6th. So he got the highest of these next few drivers we're actually going to run through. Brad Doble finishes in 10th spot with plus 11 spots. And then Jamie McKnight plus 10 spots. I know Mark Poynton has gotten one from last season when we started awarding Driver of the Day because we were just impressed with how much improvement he got. I'd like to put in a special vote, and I think this guy never gets enough rap. And I've had some really good scraps with him recently, which has also got him sort of a little bit further up on my list, and I like giving him a little bit of lip. I'm going to say Jamie McKnight, and one of the reasons is the guy doesn't get enough thanks for putting setups out each and every week for the league, and I think it's a really good opportunity to give him that tonight. Thoughts on that, Dave?
Yeah, he held on as well because there was a bunch of cars behind him on that final lap. So yeah, sure, go for it.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, tonight's Chubby Bun Burgers Driver of the Day, all because he puts a lot of work in. One of the drivers who certainly likes to grumble and complain from time to time, but I think that's all of us. It's just that his gets heard a little bit more loudly. But he's always around for a laugh, always around for a joke, and just a bang-up driver as well. A lot of work in behind the scenes to make sure that we get sit-ups each and every week to go racing on, and plus 10 spots to finish inside the top 10. And he has not been a feature in the top 10 for a good while. So on his best night in a very long time, we'd like to give our thanks to Jamie Knight for what he was able to achieve here tonight. Congratulations, Jamie, on Driver of the Day. And ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap us up here from Everything Mobility Resorts Motegi. Next time out, it's going to be up and down, side to side, like a roller coaster. We're going to be heading to Portimao. However, this is the moto layout, which means it has a slightly different hairpin in the middle of the lap. What does that look like? Well, you'll have to be here next week from 8:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time to find out. I can tell you, I'm going to be trying to test drive this setup and do some racing of my own on Tuesday night in a V8 supercar, utilising the same setups we've got available to us here in the RaceKraft V8 Veterans. Time to thank all the sponsors that make it possible for the V8 Veterans. Your title sponsor, once again, John and the team from RaceKraft Simulations. If you're looking for a piece of sim racing hardware to get you out there, to get you racing, or perhaps you're over in Perth and looking to see if you can walk in and have a crack at one of the turnkey simulators, hire them for a few hours and have a blast with a bunch of your mates. RaceKraft Simulations are the place to get it. On behalf of the Driver of the Day sponsor, Chubby Buns Burgers, if you're in Sydney looking for a bite to eat, Chubby Buns Burgers are your place to get a feed. Player One Sim Gear, SimSpeed LGC Images, Logitech G, Nova Sim Sports, and Parramatta Isuzu Utes are all the guys that get it done here for us at the RaceKraft V8 Veterans. Season 21 is drawing to a conclusion. There are 2 rounds that remain. Scott Gamble looks on track for another title and a few in a row. Will he manage to take that one home? You'll find out next week. Same time, same sim place. We'll see you all then.